The Lindsay Clancy trial is entering its final stretch. Right now, in a Massachusetts courtroom, prosecutors are putting their last expert witness in front of the jury as they try to dismantle the defense's case that postpartum psychosis made Clancy incapable of understanding what she was doing when she killed her 3 children. That witness, a psychiatrist, questioned Clancy's claim that a voice told her to kill her children.
No instructions as to how to do it, but being able to execute those decisions, including being able to get a phone call and then return it to her husband in the process of all of this, that is surprising that she was able to accomplish all of this without any other kind of direction or plan. It indicated that she had control.
Meanwhile, a current South Carolina representative and lead prosecutor in the infamous 1995 Susan Smith trial, where Smith was convicted of drowning her 2 young sons, says the postpartum defense might not resonate with the jurors the way that Clancy's attorneys hope.
The women were the ones that said, when I had my kids, I went through hell, but they're the most important thing in my life. And so, strange twist. While a woman may have even, faced postpartum depression, she may have overcome it and then be less sympathetic to Clancy. A weird mix, too, is having her in the courtroom. Some jurors, and I would think maybe even more so men would think, well, she's already punished.
All right. So, Trey, you're an attorney in South Carolina. You know him very well. He's the Speaker pro tem of our House, yes, right, down in South Carolina. And he's making some good points. Do you think they'll be sympathetic to that? And do you think the men will say, well, she's already been punished. She's in a wheelchair and she's paralyzed for the rest of her life?
Men are more susceptible to that argument than women. Women are actually really tough. They're very good jurors. You don't want them on sex assault cases, but you want them on most all other cases. You're going to see the wheelchair, but at the end of it all, Ansley, there are 3 caskets. Mm-hmm. So what's more probative in the jury's mind, the 3 little tiny caskets, mm-hmm, or the wheelchair and the fact that she gets to live the rest of her life? Tommy is not unwise. You got to tailor your closing argument to whatever your jury is most interested in. Here's what I would tell them. It's weird that the voice only spoke twice. Go systematically strangle your 3 kids, but don't forget to ask for your lawyer when you wake up. Yeah,
Sandra, there are so many inconsistencies that the psychiatrist yesterday pointed out. For instance, she told the doctor the voice started after a call from her husband, Patrick, and while she was standing at the refrigerator getting chicken nuggets for the kids. But Patrick told the doctor the kids were already eating the nuggets when he left the house. And she told another psychiatrist that the voice started earlier, but the psychiatrist taking the stand today and yesterday said it was unusual that the voice, which had been constant, stopped after she strangled Callan. So the voice part of it, does she want the jury to think she's hearing voices because then she gets not as strict of a punishment or a harsher punishment? Does she want us to think she's crazier? Is that why the voice thing is so?
I think those are all good questions. I mean, the psychiatrist who they brought up said point blank, based on my reasonable medical opinion, she's criminally responsible. I mean, to have the jury hear that is incredible. I thought it was really interesting, too. It was pointed out that those women on the jury are also going to see her current physical condition. She's sitting there in a wheelchair. I noted to you earlier, there's a lot of things we probably don't know about her physical appearance when she comes in the room, how she looks, her demeanor. We basically see this angle at most. There was a suggestion that maybe on the flip side of women not feeling sympathetic to a woman who had the ability to kill her 3 young children, no matter the postpartum struggle she was having. Most mothers would say, there's nothing in me that could ever do that. But the suggestion was that when they see her challenged physical appearance after she threw herself out the window, slit her neck and threw herself out the window, how that might come into play for the jury. I'm not sure if that would be an issue, if you have any thoughts on that.
I think what's unusual about our system is the jury never knows what the potential sentences are. So they don't know if we find her guilty but mentally ill, that means this. If we find her not guilty by reason of insanity, we go to a psychiatric hospital, but for how long? I mean, for a month until I say, you know what, hey, I got good news. I don't hear the voices anymore. let me go check myself out of the hospital. The jury doesn't know the punishment, so they're going to err on the side of those 3 dead kids.
Yeah, Emily, you're an attorney. Closing arguments are expected to start tomorrow. As a mom, there's absolutely no way I could ever think that a mom would be able to do this to her children unless she is nuts. So I'm assuming that she is. Do you think the women on, the moms that are on this, in the jury box, do you think they will go back and they will say, she just belongs in a psychiatric ward because there's so many people outside protesting, they're wearing pink in her favor?
My experience pales in comparison to Trey's, but I will say as a reminder that the universe in which the jury is operating right now is not only closed, but it's also more voluminous than what we sort of talk about, we as a collective culture at this moment, which has been not only sort of overgeneralized, over-broadened to include a lot more points and discussions about postpartum depression and psychosis, over-medication, the pharmaceutical industry, et cetera, and also a lot of things that we can't show on air. They saw those autopsy photographs. They saw the autopsy reports. So we are imagining the worst situations, but they actually saw it. And I think the reality of the evidence as it's presented to the jurors, for me, I have no words for how horrifying I could imagine that is. And so it seems that the culpability decision might be a little easier when they are faced with such extraordinary evidence, including the circumstantial evidence surrounding her perceived lack of responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. But the experts weighing in that when they're in there and they're trying to determine whether she appreciated the nature of her actions in that moment, which is all they have to do, then the experts' testimony might sway them. And Trey, if I'm wrong in any way, please, or expound.
You could teach criminal law. That was perfect.
Lisa, a lot of, what can we learn from this? Because a lot of us in the newsroom, we're talking about how why did her husband, why did her mom, why did they leave her alone with these babies when she was saying she can't be alone? When she's on 15 medications, and she's a nurse, she should know that she can't be on that many medications.
Well, I don't have sympathy for her, so you're asking the wrong person about that. I think what this says about society is we don't value human life. I don't know if it's because we've reduced children to a clump of cells on issues like abortion or what the root evil of that is. But that's what I've learned from this. And you know, Ainsley, I hear you when you say that no mother, unless she's crazy, could strangle her children to death. But you look at all those women that we've seen outside, lined up outside of the courthouse, celebrating her, supporting her on TikTok. So I think there's a lot of crazy people out there, unfortunately. And I don't need a jury to tell me that she's evil. When you take your 3 children and systematically strangle them to death with an exercise band after you sent your husband away. Cora was 5. She liked taking care of people. She loved princesses. Dawson was 3. He was rambunctious, silly. He loved Paw Patrol. Callan was just 8 months old, a baby, and she strangled each of them to death. So, you know, I'm sorry. My sympathy and my heart is with the children that she admitted to killing. And I think the fact that there are so many people supporting her as a society shows us that there's a lot of evil in our society that we need to root out, and it's not healthy.
All right, well, let's get a quick check on what's coming up on America Reports. Hey, John, what do you have?
Hey, everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.